Hello, Flosstube world. This is Vicki coming to you with part 2 of my WIP parade. I watched my first video, of course, before I posted it and thought, wow, I really need a lot of work. For the few of you that have decided that you liked my video and you subscribed, I thank you so much, and watched and got through my video. I thank you so much for hanging in there. I just want to go ahead and start this second part of my WIPs. I think it's going to be a 3-parter because I don't want to make it get too long because I kind of can have a tendency to ramble, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying to speak clearly and not waste too much time and just make it enjoyable about watching Flosstube interesting things. So I was able to, and I'm trying to be a little bit more organized, and I was able to pull out a bunch more of my WIPs. I have a whole big bin here that I'm going to go through today. Sorry if I get out of the camera sometimes because I don't really have anywhere to put this big bin but on the floor. My desk it'll start falling off the desk if I put it there. I have way too many to fit there and not slide off. So we'll get started with WIP number 1. I also tried to take things somewhat out of plastic. That I dropped something on the floor already and had to bend out of the camera view, sorry. But this first one is, I love this pattern. I first saw this one, Lori Schickalone from Once Upon a Stitch on Flosstube was doing this one. She's a really great stitcher also. And enjoy her videos. But this one is Lantern Lane by Little House Needleworks. And I'm sorry about the glare. I'm right by the window to have decent light. And this one, this one I had started, and for some reason had thought it would look good on really dark fabric. And I believe this one is called Cobblestone. It's a 16 count Aida. And that was where I had started, and when I realized, I don't know, to me it wasn't showing up, it wasn't looking bright enough, and the pattern is actually on a fairly light fabric. So I decided to restart it, and I can tell you that I restarted this one on December 20th, December 2020. So what I had done a while back, and I'm trying to get organized and get these in all of my WIPs, but I had typed up a progress sheet. Just something I made up myself. It just has the name of the project, the supplies that I used, the date that I started, the date that I finished, which none of them have that yet. And these are all the days that I have worked on Lantern Lane so far. So in those handful of days, I was able to restart it and get this far on this project. I do have a couple of threads in the way. Sorry about that. But this is how far I was able to get on it the second time around, and I love it much better on the 16 count Aida in the color Lamb's Wool. Looks much better. So I am loving this. I'm hoping to have this one done by this winter so that maybe this can be something that I can get put up on my walls by then. I will still keep this piece of fabric. There was still quite a bit left that I can do a small, another small project on. Or if I really love it for a project that's a little bigger, I'll go ahead and frog out what I had stitched in here so far. The flosses that I have used for this one are on my floss drop here, and they are these colors. I don't know if I've said before, but a lot of times I make my own tags. This was just some tag thing that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and I put a hole in it, another hole up here with a hole punch, and wrote on it that it's this DMC color 844, and floss dropped that one that way. The rest of them, well, and here's some more little handmade using some heavier cardstock paper that I had. from my scrapbooking days and just punched holes with the letters. The rest of these are Weeks Dye Works, Classic Color Works. This one's Classic Color Works Peapod. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, when I go through in future videos and I show you progress that I've made on my stitching, I can go more into depth on, you know, the tools used, things like that, because that will be here all day if I go through every thread that I've ever used. But I do want to show you that I do put little fun dangly charms on my floss drops. This one's just the fleur-de-lis on actually an earring. Joann's had a bunch of their jewelry in their jewelry department thing on sale, and this was just a starter to make a nice dangly earring, and I just threw a charm on it. But this was just a wire earring that had some little crystal rhinestones on it. Got it when it was on sale and cheap, and thought how cute to just put that on a floss ring. So that's what I did there. And this is the project bag that this one is in, and this one is by the Lake House Stitch Company from Etsy. And she doesn't pay me. She doesn't give me these bags for free. She doesn't even know I'm saying anything about her bag on YouTube. I just thought she does such a great job. Shipped it to me very quickly. And it's a nice, sturdy, nicely constructed bag. So I do give her kudos for that. I wanted to just show that that bag is just lovely. And then the next WIP, continue here with the WIP parade, is one that I had probably I purchased it from 123 Stitch. It's called The First Thanksgiving, and it's by Twin Peak Primitives. And I absolutely love this pattern. Love it. I love that. I love stitching on it so far. I've started up here in this left-hand corner. Oh, I'm sorry. This would be the left-hand corner. I'm looking at everything backwards because I had done the British flag. I believe they call it the Union Jack. I had done this part of the bunting here and this part of the border. What I want to do is work my way into the middle here and across to the American flag, and then of course down. But it looks like you could get a lot of small finishes here. Just this urn with this flower in it, the pilgrim lady, the little Indian lady, you know, the turkey down here. There's another turkey over here, the table setting. A lot of small finishes to feel like, you know, it sets small goals on it. And they use only DMC flosses, but yet they come out really nice. So these are the DMC floss colors. I'm just going to show you real quick. I had only switched out the blue on this one to make it a brighter blue, because the blue that they had was kind of a grayer, washed out blue, and I wanted it to be a more bright, vibrant blue. So this one is actually a Victorian motto in the colorway Twilight Time. And I just thought that was more of a patriotic looking blue to me. So I did switch that one out. And I think there was one other color I didn't have, and I had to switch in Pilgrim Squash for that color. But other than that, I used the called for colors. And here again is another one of my little charms that I had just done up with some little things I had purchased at Hobby Lobby or Joann's. You can see here where I had to switch out, where I did switch out the Twilight and the Squash color for some other of the called fors. In this pattern, I copied this sheet, and because it was so long all the way across here, I didn't want to get confused and pick, you know, a symbol color and go down here and do pick out the wrong color and then find out later that I'd messed it all up. I'm sorry. You guys. No, I was right. I'm looking at it backwards, and I am such a newbie that it's hard for me to figure it all out because it's all backwards to me. I'll get this. I'll get it. I promise. But I just wanted to do this to have it laying next to me while I'm stitching, and to try to see it better. I did it that way. But here is my progress so far. Like I said, I worked up in the upper left-hand corner Got the flag done, some of the bunting, and the border. And this one is done in 16 count. Where's my progress sheet on this one? This one is done on 16 count dirty Aida. And I've used Weeks Dye Works, the called fors, and a couple of Victorian mottos. So this is Weeks Dye Works, Dirty Aida, the color Dirty Aida in 16 count. And they recommend using Aida for their projects. So, you know, there's no 1/1s or anything like that you can't use Aida for this one, because that's called for fabric is an Aida. But I don't believe that's the color of their called for. And this one sits in this project bag right here. This one is a vinyl fronted fall harvesty looking Thanksgiving-y type bag for the first Thanksgiving. So that's that project. I'm just going to be throwing them on the floor over here, and then I'm going to have to straighten it all up later. Try to keep it together, but I also tried to kind of start to unzip bags and pull some things out of plastic and things like that before the video this time, so that I wouldn't be hopefully making so much noise in the background. I know that was probably annoying for quite a few people, and I'm so sorry. This one is called Primavera, which means springtime in Italian, by Sara Giammarni. And this one is just adorable. And it comes with this little sheep button down here. It looks like a mama and a baby sheep. And I just loved all the spring colors. There again, this is another one that I, for some reason, thought, oh, this would look so nice on milk chocolate, 16 count Aida. And I started it, and I got this far when I realized, why am I doing a spring project on such a dark fabric? And so then I restarted it, and I restarted it on April 22nd, and I've worked on it for 4 days so far. And I restarted it on Jade, 16 count Aida. And I'm loving this. Just looks so much more springtime. And this is where I've gotten to on Primavera. I'm up in the left-hand corner. I really, my goal was to work down to those sheep and get those sheep in there. I just think they're adorable. Adorable. And this is the part that I had done. This corner up in here. And these few little sheep. You can see those. I'm torn whether or not, it does come with where you can have it say Primavera or it'll say springtime in English. And I'm even torn with just putting the words at all on my piece. So I'm going to stitch that last. I'm going to leave that till the end. And when I get it more finished, I can be able to see if I even want the words on there at all. That might be something I might leave off. But this one is just using DMC flosses, and they are in this floss box because there are quite a few colors. I'm sorry, that's plasticky, it's shining. But there are quite a few colors in this piece, but they're just DMC, so easy to get, not too expensive. And there's my progress sheet for Primavera. And I hope to get a lot more done on that one. That one, though, is probably going to take, I doubt I'll have that one done this year, not unless I make it a focus piece. But it is beautiful, and I'm enjoying working on it. My next WIP is Afternoon in Rome. And because I am so close to the window, I didn't think it would be a big deal, but now I moved close to the window because I needed to plug. I'm filming from my iPad. I needed to plug it in, so I'm closer to the window by the wall so that I could plug it in because the battery was going low. So here is Afternoon in Rome. Put it more where it's straight for you guys. And this one is by Cottage Needleworks. And I started in the middle on this one, and I got this fountain done so far. So I'm going to show that to you. This one is in the color, it's on 16 count Aida, and it is in the color, can't show you the pattern, sorry about that, Coastal by Picture This Plus in 16 count Aida. And I told you I got the fountain done, and that is how far I have been able to get on this piece. Let me fold the fabric over a little bit so you can see it. So that's how far I was able to get on this one so far. And they have a few in this series. They have Afternoon in New York, in London, in Rome, Paris, I think. But I picked this one because my husband and I actually took a trip before COVID hit out to Italy and actually stayed in Rome with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And we just had a great time. We shared an Airbnb and toured Rome. And I got to tell you, the people in Rome are friendly and nice. And even though it was crowded, it wasn't full of a bunch of rude people or anything. And I just loved it. And we stayed in an apartment. It was actually up on the 3rd floor, and it was in an old building. There was no elevator, just these marble steps and these beautiful iron railings to walk up to your apartment, and a huge solid wood door to get into the apartment. And there was just a little 2-bedroom apartment with a small little kitchenette off to the side and a little living area. So, and our back view showed the St. Peter's Cathedral. Beautiful, and it was just gorgeous. Now my next project is by Nora Corbett, and this is Gigi. She's part of the Bewitching Pixies series, and I just loved the colors of the blue in her dress. Also, I told you before I have 5 grandchildren, and my grandchildren call me Mimi. And they call my mother, for great-grandma, they call her Gigi. So I thought that was so cute. Although my mother is not a witch. She's really a nice lady. And I have so little done on this. I am not real sure directional which way this one goes. But I started on her dress. I want to say it's probably goes in either this way. No, it probably goes this way. I'm making you guys dizzy, sorry. But I only worked on this one, I think, a couple of days. I didn't get very far because I also am trying to do WIP go, and sometimes I have to set something aside and work on my WIP go piece. But this one I started on March 20th, and I actually worked on it March 20th and 21st of 2021. And this one is in the color Milk Chocolate, which is the called for color. And I'm using the called for DMC floss for this one. So this one is Gigi. I do have a few more of this series, but I have not started them yet. And because I look at them and all of them are so pretty. The colors, the colors of their dresses. I have Xenia, she's got a beautiful red dress. I've got Anna, she's got a beautiful green dress. Just pretty, pretty. But that's my first start on a Nora Corbett. I have done Mirabilias and a lot of lavender and lace ladies, but never a Nora Corbett. So that's my first foray into her designs. This next project is Summer Band Sampler. Band. I'm hoping I'm speaking clearly enough. Sometimes I can start talking too fast and not enunciate enough. But this is the Summer Band Sampler by Little House Needleworks. And I had started this one and only worked on it one day in December. And this was the first piece that I thought, let me try to step out of the 16 count Ada bubble and try to do something on an even weave. Linen scares me because of the slubs. I have a thing with, if my threads are thicker and thinner, it kind of throws me off. But this is how far I had gotten on that one day, testing out, working on this 28 count Jobelin. And I'm not sure what the color is. I think I just picked this piece up at Hobby Lobby, I believe, a while back. And that's how far, and it's actually the little house right here in the center and some of the clouds right above the house. Didn't quite finish the windows in the house, the trim, but that's how far I was able to get testing out, working on 28 count Jobelin, and I actually enjoyed it. And I was doing 2/2 with DMC. So that is that project. Put the pattern away. The next one is what is this one? Spring in the Village by Stoney Creek. This one I had started on February 22nd of 2021 of this year. And I'm stitching it on a amber piece of 16 count Aida. And this is how far I was able to get on this one so far. And I'm going to show you the pattern. There again, there's one of my threads. I park my needles way off in the border. That way, even if they were to sit in my project for months or years, if they were to rust or anything, or mark my fabric or leave indentations, it's way over here on the salvage part of my material, so it's not going to matter. So I usually do that when I put my pieces away, because I had learned a long time ago, I had a piece, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was a long time ago, probably in the 90s, that I had a piece that I had started, and I had put it away, and didn't work on it for probably 3 or 4 years, and pulled it out, and there was like a little bit of rust on the needle, and it was rusting onto the fabric. So this is Spring in the Village by Stoney Creek. And my little bit of start was this little flower cart over here. And I started on this building right here. I'm going to see if I can hold both up and show you. There's the little flower cart started, and this was that building right here. Haven't done the tree yet. There's quite a bit. Stoney Creek uses DMC, and that's what I'm using. And they use quite a bit of colors, do quite a bit of color change. And in things like this tree, there's a lot of confetti, and in the flowers and the flower cart and things like that. Also a lot of back stitching in the pattern to finish it. They look beautiful when they're done, but at that, I think when I was working on it those couple of days, I didn't feel like doing all that confetti of the tree, so I just was working on the building. And what I had done, there's so many floss colors. They're in one of these little floss containers. You can pick them up at Walmart. You can order them on 1, 2, 3 Stitch. Amazon, I think, sometimes carries some of these small containers. But this is how many colors are in that small. This isn't the last color I was working with, but that's how many colors. And I bobbinate and put the numbers on them are in this project. And what I had done also was I copied my legend, and I went ahead, because there's so many colors in here, I went ahead and I highlighted the symbol and highlighted the number, because they had anchor right next to it, but I'm actually using DMC. So you could either use anchor for this project, or you could use the DMC colors. And because I didn't want to get confused and see this number and go, wait a minute, what? And have to look again, I just went ahead and highlighted, just to make my life a little easier when I'm doing one of my 50 different color changes that I'm doing for that day working on that project. I like Stoney Creek, and I think they come out really cute, the patterns, but they do take work. So this is just something that I'll pick up here and there and work on, and don't plan on having it be a finish anytime soon. But I was inspired on this one again by Lori Schicklone on Once Upon a Stitch. She was working on the fall village. They have each of the seasons, and I picked the spring one, but her fall village came out really pretty. So if you're interested in finding out any more about these Stoney Creek Village series, you can watch her video also and see the fall. This next WIP is Samplers by the Scarlett House. And this is what this one looks like. And I put the fabric, I ordered it from 1, 2, 3 Stitch. It's stitched on 16 count Aida on the colorway Heroic. And I only actually worked on this one day. I was having a little bit of problem. This fabric, sometimes some of these dyed Aidas can get kind of soft and loose, and when you put them on your Q-snap, I usually work with a Q-snap, they can stretch and distort, and I was having a problem with that one that day, and I didn't feel like really messing with it too much. So this is how far I was able to get on this one. So it's the start of this urn way. My fingers are too short. This urn and some of this border was how far. And this little white, start of a white right over those little dogs motif. So that's how far I was able to get on this one. Heroic has, you can see some modeling of, I don't know if it was originally red, but it kind of comes across as kind of pinkish, almost like it's red and blue mixed in there. And that's probably where they come with the name Heroic, is they take a tan fabric and then just add some splotches of red and blue that almost come out kind of pink and gray. It's really pretty. And I've been working with this kind of Aida more since I was working on this one, and I'm getting more used to the looser Aidas. So I'm learning. Like I said, back in the day, you only could stitch on regular, just plain old Aida. But this is my little charm that I put on this one. And then these are the colors for that one. Really simple. I think there's only maybe six colors in this design altogether. So, and they are Gentle Arts. So I'm looking forward to getting this one finished one day. Okay, this next one was the very first sampler since I've gotten back into stitching that I had started, and this one is by Beth Twist with Heartstring Samplery, and this one is called Prairie Life Sampler. You can see it. I'm trying to not have the glare. And by the down here you can see I'm stitching this one on 16 count Country French Golden Needle Aida by, I don't think this one's not a picture of this plot. I think it's a Zweigart. It has a Z at the end of the number. And I was able to, what I wanted to do first, because it was my first sampler, is make sure that my border met up before I got too far, and make sure that I was centering it good. I was kind of scared because it was my first. So I was able to get my border to meet up, and I started working on filling in up there in the left-hand corner, and I'm really enjoying this one. My only problem that I'm going to have down the road is there is some 1/1 in this design, and let me show that to you a little bit closer up. So you can see I started on the bear. There's a little bit of 1/1 in the bear's face, and there's some little people and a couple of little motifs on this pattern that are 1/1. And I didn't realize it when I first ordered it, but this is actually from Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls. So it's got the little Ingalls family here, and they've got some 1/1 in them, and then their horses' names are in 1/1, and the dog Jack, his name, and a couple of other the little hoop here, the embroidery hoop, has got some 1/1. This little candy cane way here is really tiny. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do all of these little motifs. I have punctured Aida before to do half stitches and things like that, and I can try to do the 1/1 on the Aida, or I could just leave them off. I'm not sure how I'm going to work that when I get to that point. Because being a newbie back again, when I purchased this chart, I didn't realize about 1/1, checking for 1/1 and samplers and things. And this one, I actually started on November 15th. And I've worked, it looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, about 9 days on this in November and in March. I worked some days. So I started it on November 15th of 2020. And I only had started back in cross stitching in September of 2020. So I'm not real, I wasn't real savvy on samplers and the 1/1s on things. So we'll see with that one. Another sampler that I started, and I had, even though I stitched back in the day, I had never done a Prairie Schooler. And I decided, this is inspired by Lori Schickalone, also from Once Upon a Stitch. She's enabled me a lot There's a couple of YouTubers that have enabled me a lot. And she was working on this one. And this one is the Village Sampler by the Prairie Schooler. And one thing you can say about the Prairie Schooler, they use DMC. They don't do any at least not on this pattern and most of the ones I've seen. They don't normally do half stitches, 1/1 stitches. You can easily do it on Aida. They use DMC floss. So it is stitched on an Aida. This one's stitched on 16 count milk chocolate Aida with the DMC colors. And I started this one in December of 2020. Like I said, after I saw Lori Schickelin working on hers. And then this was on my WIP Go for the month of January, where I needed to work on it for 5 days. So I actually got a good amount done. I started down on, this time I actually started down on the lower left-hand corner. So I started down here with this one and got the church and the little tombstones down here, a couple of little bunnies, and then the house above, the kind of orange house. Hoping you can see that. I can see what I was showing you guys. So that's how far I was able to get on this one. And thanks to WIP Go, I pulled it out again. Like I said, I started this one in December of 2020, and I had worked on it just a couple of days, and then I pulled it out in January, and I actually worked on it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, because in January it was on my WIP Go board. So I worked on it quite a bit. I think my goal was 5 days, but I actually was enjoying working on it, because the one thing I can say about Prairie Schoolers is not a lot of color change. It's solid coloring. There's blocks of color. In fact, I'm going to StitchCon next month, and it would be my very first time attending any stitching expo, stitching retreat, stitching event. And I've heard that it's better to take easier projects so you don't have a lot of color changes and more blocks of color or whatever. So this one's not a difficult one, and it's on my thoughts for being one of the ones I take. Not sure what I'm taking yet. I'm just excited. I want to take it all. I want to do it all. I want to talk to everybody. And whether everybody wants to talk to me, I don't know. I hope so. I'm a little anxious because I'm a newbie. I've never been. I don't know anybody. I'm going all by myself. But I'm sure it'll be fun. And I'm sure I'll be wanting to go again and again and again. This next WIP is by Little House Needleworks, and this one is called Hillside Travelers. And I loved the colors in this. I just loved the little people, the houses. There's something about houses that I noticed a lot of my sampler kind of projects have houses in them. And this is how far I was able to get on this one. I started the lady because I had come down here and done that color on the border, and I was still working with that. So I thought, well, let me come up here and do her dress because it's the same color. And this here is supposed to be a pond in the middle with some swans swimming in it. You can see down here, there's the little lady. And I had done this house up here, these flowers, and I had started in here and done these 2 borders. That's how far I was able to get on this one. This one, of course, is on a 16 count Aida. And the progress sheet should be here. I was trying to be mindful of not showing the pattern. This one is on 16 count Aida in the color Amber. And it is stitched with DMC and Classic Colorworks. And I started this one on January 9th of this year. And stitched on it for, looks like 7 days. So that's 7 days worth of work since January on this piece. And it's the 16 count Amber. Look at this. I didn't serve it. I put my projects on a Q-snap, and a lot of times, unless I've got so much fabric I use grime guards. So I always feel like, well, I'm not really messing up my edges, but this one is fraying a little bit on me. So I may have to get my sewing machine out and do a zigzag around it and stuff. But these are the colors. They're DMC, and the one Classic Colorworks is Wild Berries. And there's my little made up charm, and then my little tags made from heavy scrapbooking paper out of a scrapbooking set of paper I had. So this one is Little House Needleworks Hillside Travelers. The next one, we're getting there, people. I think we only have about 4 or 5 more, maybe 6, 5 or 6. This one is Like a Cherry Blossom. This one I had ordered off of Etsy as a PDF download, and it is being stitched on 16 count Storm Aida. And there's not a good, this is the picture, but I had seen, I'm trying to remember who I had seen stitching on this one. It may have been Lori Schicklone again. I don't remember. It was somebody, and I think I've seen 2 YouTubers actually stitching on this one. And I had loved the white cherry blossoms, the light colored blooms as the border on this one. I believe this one has some 1/1 wording on it that I'm going to have to try and figure out what I'm doing with that when I get to that point. But this is 16 count Aida in the color Storm by Picture This Plus. I think it's by, yeah, Picture This Plus. And this one I started on March 21st, and I've worked on it for 4 days so far. I'm sorry, my thread is kind of in your way there. I had to do some color conversions for this one. Like this one here I know is a Victorian motto. I had switched this color because I really wanted these flowers to pop off of my Aida. So I had switched that color from the called for to I think it was a Classic Colorworks. Let me look real quick. In Tufted Yellow. So I'm using Tufted Yellow for the flowers, because I wanted something that just had like a very, very faint creamy yellow color to it to do the flowers. And then this is the Victorian motto color that I had switched in, and some other ones. So like I said, when I show you further progress on this one, I can get a little more into the colors I used or whatever, if anybody is interested. I don't want to make this video too long. It looks like I'm at 37 minutes, so that's not too bad. And that is Like a Cherry Blossom, and it is by Stitching Through the Years, sorry. And I ordered it as a PDF off of Etsy, Stitching Through the Years. This next one is a Stacy Nash Primitives sampler called Gathering of the Greens sampler. And even though I've taken this out of the plastic, this is like a photo on the front, so it's got a little reflection. And it's kind of hard to see the actual, some of those older looking, primitive looking samplers, their photos don't show up real clear, but what sells them to me is when I see people working on them on YouTube. I'm like, wow, that is really pretty, even though it looks kind of dull and plain on the picture on the front. This one I had started, Hanging of the Green sampler by Stacy Nash Primitives on 16 count Aida in the colorway Heritage. And I had to change out most of the colors, probably because I didn't have a lot of the colors that they were called for. I think a lot of the, this has been a pandemic, so a lot of the colors that I needed for this, I didn't have. I never had overdyed threads before, and I had to order all of my overdyed threads over the last 7 or 8 months. Well, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and so a lot of those colors aren't available, and I had to switch out and use what I had. So I was able to work on this one for 4 days, and like I said, I started on January 20th of 2021, and the color is 16 count, it's on 16 count Aida in the color Heritage, which has a little bit of a green hue to it. And this is how far I was able to get on this one so far. So this is one that could be a possible to take to StitchCon, because I've already bordered in the house. I've already put this light border that shows up once you put the the yellow color next to it. So I could go and take and just fill in this house. And so that's a great possibility on this one. But I had switched out these pink colors are Victorian motto. I think the green is even a Victorian motto. I had to switch out. I think you needed bee's knees for this. I couldn't get bee's knees. So a lot of thread conversions on this one. Sorry, I dropped my project bag. And so that is Stacy Nash Primitives, Gathering of the Greens. And I just thought, loved it. I saw somebody else doing it. I'm sorry, I can't remember who. But remember, I will let you guys know in future videos when I'm working on that one. The next one is Shores of Hawkrun Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. And let me see if I can find the actual picture to show you guys. This one's on a large piece of 16 count Ada because this is going to be a large project and I don't want to show you guys the pattern. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be organized and I'm not doing a great job. But this one, when you look at it here, it looks like mustardy yellow, and if I were to just look at this from the picture, I would have never even contemplated this pattern. But I had seen a few YouTubers doing this one, and I thought, that is really pretty. And I had also watched Stitching with the Housewives do coffee and tea dyeing. So this is a piece of 16 count Ada that I coffee and tea dyed. And that's what I'm doing Shores of Hawkrun Hollow on, is a 16 count coffee and tea dyed by me. Very first time of ever trying to dye some fabric. And I was nervous when they said put it in the oven, and I thought, I don't want to burn my fabric. And I kept checking on it every 2 minutes. Every minute I was looking in the oven. Is it burning? Is it burning? It scared me so much. So this is how far I was able to get the first block done. Let me see if I can. So the block here with the lighthouse. And I have gone down and done the block for this, the edging for this block here. Sorry, this plastic is really reflecting. So I loved it when I saw other people working on it. I've left the seagulls off of this one that are flying in the air because I will contemplate whether or not I want to put them in or not. But one of the ones that I saw was Always Amy. She finished this and it was gorgeous. She finished it, she framed it. So Always Amy on YouTube. And I just thought, look at the modeling on my dyeing. But I thought hers was so beautiful. And I thought, I had to stitch that one. And what's so funny is when I saw it, I thought, oh, I want to personalize it for my dad. And she was personalizing it for an uncle that died in the war, World War II, who was on a sub, I believe she said. And so she put, there's a block here. It says, in memory of Lieutenant Jacob Pomeroy, anchored in the heaven of rest, May 7th, 1745, in this block here. And I thought, I want to personalize this and put my dad's information. My dad was a career Navy man. I'm a Navy brat, and I'm married to a retired Navy chief. My dad was a naval senior chief, retired up here in Washington, D.C., and my first job out of high school was being a clerk typist for Headquarters Marine Corps, Department of the Navy in Washington, D.C. So my dad passed away. He's not in the war. He was able to retire from his career of 20 some odd years, and he passed away of brain cancer in 2006. And I wanted to commemorate him on this. I'm looking over there because I actually have his urn on the other side of my craft room. And sometimes I look up and I say, love you, Dad. I miss him so much. He's been gone for, what, 14, 15 years now, and I still miss him. I miss him dearly. So I was thinking of putting his information, his name, and his day of rest, which would have been in April of 2006 here. My husband wants to do a shadow box with all of his ribbons and put it above his urn on the wall. So we need to do that one of these days, but I don't want to bring everybody down. But that's going to be the story on this one. I want that block to commemorate my dad, a Navy sailor, from 1961 to 1981. He was a Navy sailor and passed on to his resting place. So that is being done on the coffee tea dyed and using the DMC. This pattern uses the DMC, and it's in a floss box. So that is that WIP. Haven't gotten very far on that one, but plan to do a bunch more on that one. Now, these last three, I'm sorry I'm going out of video. Reaching for these out of the bottom of the bin. We're getting to the bottom. We've got 3 left. These are patterns that I had, projects that I had started back in probably very late 90s, very early 2000s. And this one is a Stoney Creek. It's a Halloween Scarecrows. It's got the 2 scarecrows. It's got this little witch sitting on a pumpkin. And this sign here, the words are actually in a glow-in-the-dark thread. So, and I had started this one forever ago. I have no record. I wasn't keeping any kind of record. There was no Flosstube. There was no people, hey, you know, like switch out things. You worked on the Ada. You worked with DMC. You worked with called fors. And that's what I did here. So this is how far I was able to get on this one before I put this away for the last 20 years. So I've started on the little sign down here, and this little bit is the top of the witch's hat. And I still need to do the back stitching and the scarecrows, but they are stitched. But the back stitching on them and the cat that's sitting on the arm of the lady scarecrow, that's not done. So this is an old WIP. Takes you back in the day. So that's a Stoney Creek. Stitched on 16 count linen. Ada linen. Listen to me. What am I talking about? One of these days, I will get brave enough. This one is in a leaflet. It's called Forget-Me-Nots. It's like a Home Sweet Home collection. It says House and Home 2 by Angela Pullen. And it's a just cross stitch. Put this out. And this is what the leaflet looked like. Sorry for the glare. And I was actually working on this one down here forever ago. And I have it on, must be an Ada I did pick up at my local LNS that was open back then, that we no longer have in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And I had gotten, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm telling you a lie. I'm telling you a fib. See, that's how long it's been since I've done this one. This says, is that upside down? I'm sorry. Bless our home. And back in the 90s and stuff, you decorated a lot in blues and mauves. And I was doing in the blue. I was actually doing this one here. Bless our home. So I have most of the lettering done, and I have to do all this like flowering and binding and stuff. But that's where I had gotten on that one. And I have one last oldie but goodie from back in the day. And this one, I actually was trying to look it up. And I'm not sure if it's actually from Lavender and Lace. I don't even think they have these out anymore. But this one is called Raspberry Homecoming. And it has the little Amish people with the barn and the quilts. And I had done the Blueberry Homecoming. It's got to be in the bin in my storage area. I might have to pull it out one of these days. And I really thoroughly enjoyed doing this one. This is, I believe, is on 16 count sage Ada. And I had gotten most of the barn and the quilts done. And I started on the little people. And I have some of their aprons stitched in. And the guy's shirt and pants. They don't have any heads yet, any faces. But that's how far I was able to get on that one. And when I was looking, it says that it is, like I said, it was Raspberry Homecoming, and I have the picture that came in the kit and the pattern, but it is so old. Let me see if I could show you without showing you the pattern. That there's Marilyn Levette emblem, the same one that does a lot of the lavender and lace angels and things like that that I've stitched. She actually had written things. This is her chart back in the day. Try to cover that. But it's handwriting. Her handwriting for some of the directions and things for this actual chart. So, and it says copyrighted 1992. So, have a plan to finish that one of these days. So that is the end of my bin. I have emptied it. Now I have to put them all back. But I have emptied my bin. I have some more to show you in part 3. And then after that, I want to show you some projects that are high on my priority list that I have kitted that I'd like to start sometime soon. And then start showing you progress of things that I'm stitching on right now. I do still have at least one more part to this WIP parade. And I thank you for joining me. And I hope that you saw some things that you liked, that you were entertained in any way. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.